Hola, hola, buenas noches. Hola, Sandra, buenas noches. Bien, ya saben, la pregunta de siempre, ¿tienen alguna duda? ¿Todo bien? Hola, Mario. Dime, no.
Hello, teacher. Good evening. Did you find the word or?
I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. It's, I used to have this dictionary. It was all about expressions, and it was pretty useful, but someone took it. I never got it back. So
Oh,
probably I could find it. To be honest, I have been quite busy lately.
Hola, profesor, buenas noches.
Hola, Raúl. Buenas noches. But I'll find it. You know, now that you mentioned, there's one TikTok account that I follow that I really like because it explains a lot of expressions and words in English, obviously, that we use nowadays, and it's quite interesting. Do you know why, after a night drinking or after drinking, let's keep it that way, do you know why it's called hangover?
no, I don't. I don't.
I was shocked when I found out of this. In Victorian England, obviously there was a lot of poverty, and a lot of people went to pubs, public houses. That's the short for pubs is the short for public houses, and you could drink for a pretty cheap uh, price. The thing is that there was a lot of things that you could do in those pubs. One is you can get a rack shot or dry or rack drink. It was they use a cloth or a rag to clean the bar, and then they squeeze the rag into a jar, and you could get that for drink for a very cheap price. So that's what it's called. Well, pretty cheap, but obviously you're going to drink a lot of unhealthy things there. And after a while, well, a lot of people were too drunk to go home after a night drinking, and you could rent a place to crash, a place to stay for the night. And if you had money, you could rent a room with bed. But if you have not any money or you have very low budget, you could go to these same buildings that rented rooms, but you could stay in a bench or a chair, something like that, or like a church bench, something like that, a long bench, and you would stay there for the night, and you could not uh, be horizontal. You have to sleep sitting down. So the intern keeper would take a rope and tie you to the chair. And obviously, if you have fallen asleep sitting down, you know that your head is going to fall. And that's why it's called a hangover, because you were sleeping like that. It's quite interesting, the origin of those words. And I don't remember the name of the TikTok account, but it's quite interesting. Do you know any funny origin of words?
For English, no. But for Spanish, the
You can explain it in English,
English,
even if
okay.
it's a Spanish word.
Like the word aguas for be careful for watch out. I remember. I don't know if that's true, but I remember the in uh, before in I don't know 18th something like that. There aren't toilets, bathrooms, so the people do his things, their things. I don't know how to say that. And
Wastes, waste or wastes,
wastes, waste,
waste, waste would be better. Waste.
waste, waste. Thank you. The waste in the waste is for what? Sorry.
Desechos, cuando hablas de
Oh, okay. Okay. They do the waste like that. Okay, the waste in forget the name for the receipt. Receipt? No, receipt no. Recipiente,
the
cubeta?
bucket.
Bucket. Yeah, thank you. Bucket. In a bucket, and they threw out for the window. I don't remember if that happens in French or something like that, and they love no, it's real love no show the war I was for the waste.
Yes, that's true. Actually, it happened quite before the 18th, 19th century. Um, Obviously, in Spanish, especially in Mexico, we are talking about the colonial time, the colonial period. This was true. Uh, there was, I think that the word that you were looking for was drain. They were not drainage. So you have to throw the waste through the window. And yeah, that happened. I cannot get close to imagine the smell that those cities could have.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can imagine too.
yeah. Eventually, actually, if you read a little bit about these time periods, probably the hygiene conditions were the worst. I cannot imagine. We get for granted a lot of facilities that we have nowadays, like toilets, like drain, like electricity. It's it's another world. It's quite different, but very good. That's a very good expression. Um, Anyone else? ¿Quién? A ver, Alejandro, adelante.
Hi, teacher. Hello, good evening. I once heard a funny story about a word in Spanish, like the teporochos. Do you know it? Back in the 1900s, I believe, um, people were buying like little cups of tea out in the market, like for 10 cents a cup, and there is always competition, and some people sold it for even cheaper. But the catch what was that it had a little alcohol in the cup. So a lot of people were really happy it was cheap and it was alcohol, and that's the origin of the word teporocho. It was tea for 8 cents, and that's where it came from. And I found that really interesting.
Yes, that's a curious legend. It's true, obviously, but yeah, I remember seeing pictures of these little carts selling tea.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very good. Thank you, Alejandro. Victor, yes.
Hello, I am from Guatemala. I have funny story. I think, how you say, cuando fui a México?
You can say when I was in Mexico or when I
Yes.
visited Mexico. We could,
Oh, when I was in Mexico 4 years, 2 years ago, in Guatemala is the straight. The straight word straight is recto. Y en Mexico is a word derecho, straight. When I was in Mexico, I say my wife, don't say recto, for your straight. For in Mexico, it's in albur. It's a funny story because in the person when I talk, she say me don't say that in Mexico because it's rectus. This is the story.
Yeah, and this is a very good example of how, even as we speak the same language, we have our own expressions. And yes, Mexico is the only country where I have heard this go, vete derecho, in lugar de go straight, vete recto, vete así, no sé. But yeah, and it has caused more than one complication in my experience. Yeah, but it's funny. And even between Mexican states, this difference is notorious. Um, if you are from Mexico City, probably, se los digo en español, ¿cómo le dicen a las monedas que les dan de cambio cuando pagan algo? Nada más con eso. Ahí vamos a empezar una disputa interestatal.
Morralito.
¿Cómo, Miguel?
Feria.
Morralito.
Morralito, feria, ¿ven?
Vaya, feria.
Suelto le dicen en algunos lados, ¿no?
Morralla.
Vuelto.
Morralla.
Morraya, vuelto.
The classmates from other countries, how do you call this change, this coin?
In Guatemala es vuelto.
Vuelto. Okay, yes.
Vuelto.
In Puebla, where I live in Mexico, a lot of people say vuelto too. Menudo. That's very, very different. Menudo in Mexico is a dish. Luchas libres.
In Guatemala, menudo is parts of the chicken, the head, the legs. Menudo.
Ok, eso, menudo, como lo estás aplicando ahí, viene de menudencias, que era así como piezas surtidas, ¿no? Puede ser de cerdo, de pollo también. En México el menudo es una cosa totalmente diferente. Igual es un platillo. Tiene una moneda. Ese no sabía, Miguel. Yes, menudo in Mexico, the food is something that it's too much for me. I cannot deal with that. Sandra, yes.
Teacher, hi everyone. I have two things. One is that one of our classmates is telling that it's her first time and she doesn't know what we are talking about. But I have a little experience about my experience with my friends from Mexico. I used to live in Salt Lake City, and there are a lot of people from Mexico. And it's something funny for me in my first time to be there, because for me looks like all the words for Mexicans were female. You know, they say la troca, la aseguranza, la marketing, I can't remember more of those ones, but it was cute and funny for me. It just, I want to share that comment.
Yeah, that's very, very particular too. I remember that when I was listening to you, I remember when I was in college, I had a Cuban teacher, and he was an actor. Actually, he was an acting teacher in the university, and I took these optional courses, and I remember that we were doing this activity, and he said, de este lado los varones y de este lado las hembras. Así lo dijo. And everyone was shocked. Everyone was like, what the hell? For he was pretty common. But especially the female students, obviously, were absolutely shocked. And you can get in trouble.
Why? Sorry, why?
Because here in Mexico is not common at all. Talk about women using hembras. You can say mujeres, chicas. What other expressions in Mexico do we use? Uh, I don't remember. I forgot.
Teacher, for example, I have a situation, I don't know if you have talking with Colombians, but normally when we are so polite in many ways, like, for example, when we invite somebody maybe to have a coffee or something, we say the word, te provoca un cafecito, te provoca comer alguna cosita. And it was a joke because I said, Rita, you don't say that. Because that was another concept, okay.
Oh no, that's a very good one. I'm going to say this with a lot of caution because I cannot generalize after saying this. But I had a Colombian friend, and she's a really nice person, but she has this way of talking, and every time she's talking to a guy, it could be a friend, she always say papi, and it's very uncomfortable. I know it shouldn't, but especially when someone is with his girlfriend, she's like that. And I don't know if this is because she wants to or is the way she's just stuck.
It's just, I think that depends in from what city is she. I think that maybe she's from Cali and they talk like that. For example, in my city, like I used to call all my friends, like male friends, it's very normal to say, hola mi negro, hola negrito, hola negrita, ¿cómo estás? Hola mi negro, ¿estás bien? You can not say those words here. It's just, I don't know.
That word in USA is a racist word.
But
I think so.
if you go to my city, like you can be white, you can be brown,
Yes, in Guatemala,
any
it's very common. It's very common that word.
any color, but it's for us it's like lovely word. We say hola mi negro, hola negrita, ¿cómo estás? For us it's not the same meaning, but I learned that here in this country you cannot say that.
Oh yes, yeah, you could get in a lot of trouble if you do. Yes, but actually, she's from Cali, and she has a very.
That's why.
I'm pretty sure that she doesn't do this with bad intentions, but it could be complicated.
Is that we Colombians use a lot words, and especially, I don't know, sorry, but like la cosita, everything is like in, ¿cómo se dice? Sorry, I forgot the word. Eh, ¿Quieres un tintico? ¿Quieres alguna cosita? En diminutivos, como en diminutivos, and we use a lot of words like to refer people. For example, if you are with like kind of street between guys, ¿qué hubo, parce? ¿Bien o no? There is those kind of words, but I don't know. Yeah, we are specials. And when you are here, like in country like USA, I just find out how many, like in somehow I feel, oh my goodness. And we used to say this is not right to say it, but I cannot even remember now, teacher, like, because things that were very normal for me when you came here to this country, and I have friends from Peru, from Argentina, from Mexico, from everywhere. You find that some words that you use in your country, some how do you say expressions, slangs, are not right. Maybe that's something.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like I told you, you could get in a lot of trouble if you don't know how to use some words in a different context. But I think that most people is not going to get offended if they know that you are not from around. So I think it's a very good way to start a conversation to make a new friend. But it depends. Some people are more easily offended. Miguel, yes.
I think it's for the culture, no? For example, in Spain, tío. and in Mexico is hermano. No, something like that.
Way.
Güey, sí, pero en inglés
Cute way.
Okay, yes. Wait.
¿qué onda, güey? O sea, I have,
All right.
I have,
Sorry. I have a lot of friends from Mexico and they don't say hermano. They say hola way, cute way.
yes, and I have, I'm also a guitar teacher, and I have some students from around the world. I have one student in Switzerland and one in Canada. And at the moment they found out that I was Mexican, the first thing the guy from Switzerland told me, "¿Qué onda, güey?" With that accent, with that North accent. And okay, we have transcended. And yes, it's pretty common. You can say hermano, and a lot of friends of my friends, I can say, "¿Qué onda, hermano? What's up, brother?" It's common, but way is way more common. And parce, in Colombia, I have friends from Colombia. They always say that.
Or vato.
Pato is something that I find more specifically from North. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's
Yes.
"Ese vato." That
Ah,
without
exactly.
it has a very hard tone.
Delay or something like that, no?
There's another expression that people in the north of Mexico use a
Like
lot.
huerco, no?
Puerco. It's a word that refers like for small kids, but el plebe también es el oído mucho. Ese no me gusta nada, pero bueno.
Ajá.
Ah, I can't remember. But
Pariente.
yeah.
Pariente. For
Ah,
the-
yes.
I use that expression as the same way as tío, but when I don't like the person, it's like, ¿ya viste a tu tío? Or, checa a tu pariente. I use that a lot. Yes.
Socio.
In Guatemala, sorry,
That's a very different connotation.
in Guatemala, say uncle or aunt. You say to aunt, it says one person dislike us.
Really?
Yes, your uncle is coming. It's for reference to people dislike to me on another person.
Yeah. I use that word in the same way. When I don't like someone, oh, ahí viene tu tío. Yes. And I remember that we used that a lot when I was in high school. When the teacher was coming and we didn't like the teacher, oh, ahí viene tu tío. Yeah, but this is the kind of the language use that you're not going to learn from any book. You have to be inside the culture, and that takes me to well, not I'm not going to cut the topic off because I think it's interesting, or unless you say otherwise. But the thing here is that language is a manifestation, a direct manifestation of our culture, because we can learn a lot of languages, but in the end, we cannot separate that culture from our way of thinking. That's one of the hardest things to do when you are an immigrant. You have to change your culture. Sometimes it's not that easy. But these kind of expressions, you told a lot of usages of this, and you can in more or less you can understand how to use it in a different country. I think that anyone from a different country in Latin America can get along with these expressions. Now I'm going to, well, if you don't have any more comments on this idea, I want to give you all a couple of slang expressions. First of all, do you know what slang is? If you know, you can explain to your classmates. Anyone? No one?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What is slang?
Slang.
Slang
I think
is a modismo, I think so. It's
uh,
a word do you speak with another language natural, I think. La persona que nació en el país, ¿verdad? I think so.
Yes, you don't necessarily have to be born in that country to understand slang, but it's pretty common for locals to use that kind of expressions. Sandra, yes.
I just can say that it's like like combination of like informal words, it's like uh, that means something for that country. It's like words that you incorporate in your culture, that it means something in general, that they really don't have like a logical meaning, something, but it says something that everyone understands. Like, for example, I think that one slang that we have in my city is Ave Maria, pues. And it means like surprise for something.
I have a friend that every time she's surprised says Jesus. She always do that, and she's not even Christian, and that could be a problem. That has been a problem. Yeah. Virgen, habías levantado la mano. Adelante. Y luego Alejandro.
Okay. Hi, I'm from Cuba. I speak English, but so. Sí, solo quería responder la pregunta, pero pues ya Sandra lo hizo muy bien. Gracias.
Yeah, don't. You can add something if you want at any time. I really enjoy when you're talking, so that's the main idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alejandro, yes.
I think like slang is like the way some people talk in certain communities or parts of any city or town, like in, uh, it would be like the hood, right? The people like they have a specific form of communication that may sound strange, funny, but they understand each other when they're talking to each other. Like like I don't know, in the mm, it may sound a little wrong, but in like the more precarious sides of town where less education, people tend to use more slangs.
Yes and no, and this is a pretty common misconception about the use of slang. The thing here is that we all use slang. For example, I'm pretty sure that if I write this word, you all are gonna know what it means. Cringe. What does this mean? Or don't explain the word. Explain when would you use that.
I think it's a not colloquial language. I don't know.
No, not cringe is when someone is like creepy and is like weird, being weird, right? It gives me cringe. Even in Spanish, you can use that. Well, I've heard that especially teenagers use this. And there's a difference between slang and idioms. Anyone knows that difference?
Slang and what? Can you repeat, please?
Slang and idioms.
Uh,
Anyone knows what an idiom is? The silence.
It's like the different languages.
No, no. Actually, the difference is pretty simple. Idioms are expressions. Yes. For example, I hate this one, but it's a very good example. It's raining cats and dogs. It's a very old people saying when it's raining heavily, and you could hear old people saying it's raining cats and dogs. That's an idiom. Slang is more referred to a word, a single word. Not all the time, but most of it. You can say that slang is one word. For example, um,
Cántaros, for example, when
yeah,
I give
exactly.
example.
Está lloviendo a cántaros.
Ajá.
That would be like the equal of these expressions, rain cats and dogs. Idioms are quite difficult because there are a lot and they're constantly renewing. Rafael, yes.
Hey, hi everybody. Here in the U.S., the majority of the people that use the slang are Black people, and some Latinos that grew up in Black neighborhoods. They tend to do the same thing, but it's not very, I guess, not very popular. But it's something that everybody uses, and it gets transferred to other cultures, even into like white people and other cultures. They tend to use a word here and there just because it sounds cool more than anything, I think.
Yes, a lot of slang has its origins in hoods, like you said. But for example, I'm pretty sure that if I well, do you know what this mean? White collar person. Do you know what this mean?
Politicals, people that they work in, like in government something, like corrupto.
Not necessarily politicians, but is more like people who tend to have a high salary and their work does not involve manual labor. That would be like the definition. And the opposite,
Oh, okay.
what would be the opposite if you know?
The blue collar.
Exactly. Blue collar person is obviously jobs that are focused on manual labor. And this has its origins in a very, very long time ago. For what other slang I know that I can.
Suena como estirados.
Exactly. Yes. Obviously, when you were wearing a white colors because you were wearing a shirt, and a blue color is more like the overall that miners and factory workers tend to use. Um, One slang that I know it's pretty common. What does this mean, dude?
Is a person, a guy.
Yes, Sergio.
Es lo mismo.
Es como el güey.
Exactamente igual.
¿Qué onda, güey? Is what's up, dude? I don't know. I don't use that word a lot, but when I'm playing Call of Duty online, I hear this a lot.
I think and here in America, it's the most popular white people's slang because everybody uses it. Young kids, old kids, girls, boys, grandpas. Everybody uses dude, dude. It's like dude everything. Especially if you're in California, it's like dude, did you see this? Dude, did you see that? Oh man, it's so gnarly, and it's like all these different expressions.
Yes, and I'm going to be well. In comparison to this, I I find it quite difficult to talk with a person that in Mexico, obviously, that is always using way. I have a friend, and if he is saying 10 words, five are going to be way. And it's so difficult for me to pay attention to what he's saying because of that. I cannot pay attention because ya sabes, güey, el disco, güey, está muy bueno, güey. It's, I cannot deal with that. Probably it's my talking, but one sorry, Miguel, yes.
I remember I see a video. Then the Mexican is in United States, and he said niggas, and the people who walking around him is like, what? And he say, sorry, I'm Mexican. I can say niggas.
Apparently, that
And
guy in a
yes, sí, bueno, le responden, ¿no?
¿Qué onda, güey?
¿Qué onda, vato? Acá.
Yeah, apparently in a different situation, that could have ended very, very differently. But yeah, it's a very funny video. I know it. Yeah, I can say that I'm Mexican. Okay, if you want.
I use that all the time.
Do you use it all the time?
Not the word nigger, but I use the fact that I'm Mexican, and being a
Oh.
minority here, you can say things that white people can't really say. You can express a little different because you are a minority, and they can't really judge you because of who you are and where you're coming from.
Exactly. Yes, I think that's a very good card to use. But I'm going to ask you about this one. Probably only if you're quite young or have kids are going to know this one. Do you know what Finsta is? Without looking that on Google, tell me if you know or if you don't.
No, teacher.
Oh, that's a word I learned from my high school students. A Finsta is a fake Instagram account. And it seems that kids are using that word a lot. And I'm like, oh, the origin of the word is quite easy to understand, but I was like, I don't know what you're saying. Obviously, slang is changing over time. This one is from kids too. For example, if you have young kids, you know this one. He's flexing. Have you?
That one is like he's showing off.
Exactly. He's showing off. Flex is to show off, and I was, oh, interesting. What again? Emo. That's an old one, but I've heard that a lot quite lately. What else? Anyone else can say another word? I'm thinking, but I cannot get it.
I write in the message if GY. I don't understand that word as in a email. Is for your information.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, those are acronyms, and those are quite common.
But I don't understand that. I see much time, but I don't understand. Only I hear people I asking, and that people say me what is the word, the thing.
Yes, actually, there are a lot of those. This one, AFK. Again, my high school students use that a lot when we're in English class, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And I asked one of them, and she told me it's away from keyboard, so I cannot reply fast. And I was, oh, you learn a lot from kids, and sometimes you forget what you already know.
What do you say about the word?
Sorry, Sergio, can you come again?
What do you say about that word? FKA?
Yeah.
What it means?
Away from keyboard, lejos del teclado.
Keyboard.
Yeah, be right back. This is more around my generation. Be right back. Yes.
The computer.
Yes. Well, no, not be right back.
The phone. Cell phone.
Sorry.
Even can be using in the cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
YOLO. That's an old one. No, I like that. You only live once. Another one, a good one. What does this mean when someone is wasted?
That's when someone gets really, really drunk.
Yeah, yeah, he's wasted. Actually, there's a slang, a different slang for that one. If you have played Grand Theft Auto, you probably know this. When someone dies,
Yes.
yeah,
I
it's like.
remember.
But it's interesting because he when you said he is wasted, is that he is drunk. He or she is really drunk. But when you use this in a passive form, like he got wasted or he has been wasted, is that you got killed. Obviously, this is has a lot of meanings. I can't remember. Okay, any questions or comments? No questions, probably not. Another thing that is quite interesting about this is that languages borrow words from different languages. For example, do you know what a cop is?
A police officer.
Yes, but there's a very specific idea. Well, yes, it's a police officer. Police officer. Let's say with that. The thing is that you know where this word comes from.
Oh no, no, I don't know.
I don't know.
Mm, I
I
think
know they
it's from
call
New
them
York
pigs.
or something like that.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you said, Miguel.
Um, I think I in New York uh, is use the word cop. I don't know.
It's very common to refer to police officers that are on patrol, for example. It could be also used for detectives, but not that common. First question is: do you know where English come from? From what language does English come from?
Um, United Kingdom.
I
No,
think
no, no.
so. Is for your her hat. I think so. The form for the sombrero the long time ago. I think so.
Not really. Actually, it comes from a very old Anglo-Saxon expression that you could translate like to cop. That means to grab someone, to catch someone or something. So, as long as police officers are in charge of catching criminals, that's the origin of the expression. And eventually, especially in the 1920s and 30s, you could hear a lot of the word copper, and it's the same. Someone believe that this expression comes from the copper used for badges for the police officers badges, sorry, badges. And but no, copper means the one who cops, the one who catches. And it was, I think that this word is pretty was widely used in the late 19th century. Yes, Alejandro.
That word was really used when it was all the mafia stuff, in the USA, like an expression they tend to use, like in disrespectful way.
Yes, yes, it was. A copper is a cop. Not it's not. But copper, yes, was a respective use of this word. And another expression used for police officers that I find quite curious is flatfoot.
Flat what?
Flatfoot, like pie plano.
I
You have not heard of that one?
haven't.
No.
I remember this. And my dad is a huge fan of gangster movies from the 30s and 40s, right? And I remember I was a kid and I was always watching those kind of movies because my dad loved that. And I remember the gangsters, the mafia guys saying, okay, yeah, flatfoot. And it was a demeanor term used for police officers that were on patrol but walking. They were not on police cars or something like that. And it was in it's a despective use of the word, obviously, but it was used to distinct the pedestrian and mobile police officers. Flathead was another use of that word. But obviously, this is not longer in use. Or I don't know if you live in the U.S. I'm pretty sure that you have not heard this expression. There could well, there are some ways to refer to police officers that are not very nice.
Flatfoot is a bad word to referring to police
Yes,
or cop.
yeah, yeah, very very bad.
Okay.
But if you think of a more modern expression to refer cops in a bad way, there are a lot.
Mexico is puercos.
Yes, this is well not that recent because that originated in its late 70s and 80s. But
Or rats.
No, I've never, in police at least, I've never heard about a rat. Well, the use of this word for to refer a police officer. I think that rat in English is more like
Anyone.
no, is this kind of people who reveal secrets or talks too much or betray someone.
It's like hearing chismosos.
Más bien chivato sería en español. ¿Qué otra palabra en español se les ocurre para alguien así que?
In Guatemala is frog, sapo.
In Mexico, in the south, I've heard that a lot too. You are a sapo because you betrayed someone. Yeah, a rat is that someone who betrays and spill. For example, another expression that's pretty funny: spill the beans. Have you heard of that?
Beans, like the when
Frijol.
you're eating beans. What do
No,
you mean?
spill the beans.
Peel.
Spill the beans. Have you heard that one? It's an old one.
Es como escupir los frijoles.
Sí, o como riega los frijoles, más bien. Do you know what expression means? Sandra,
It's
you have been quite quiet.
say the information to the police.
No, not specifically to the police, but yeah, something like that, no?
Yeah, he's telling a secret by accident. Yeah.
Not by accident.
I know. Oh.
You are pushing someone to tell you something. Spill the beans. Es como suelta la sopa.
Oh.
Yeah. Exacto, Rafael. Sí, no había visto que lo pusiste en el chat.
Tell me.
Cuenta el chisme.
Spill the beans.
Yeah, it's an old expression, but it's.
For example, soplón.
Un soplón sería una rata. Es a rat.
Okay.
You're a rat.
Mhm.
Okay.
Poor rats. They are not that bad.
Teacher, I have a question about the word figure out and think out. Figure out. I have
Figure out?
figured it in the movies. I figure out I am learning. Something like that.
O sea, la expresión de la que tienes duda es figure out.
Yeah.
Figure out puede funcionar de dos formas. La primera es como cuando resuelves algo. You have to figure out how to get out of this problem. Tienes que
Resolver.
Ajá. Podría ser como
Hacerlo bien.
Imaginar cómo resolver.
estaba pensando en la palabra
Imagínate cómo lo resolverás. Algo así.
Ujú.
Ok.
Pero es que
Pero-
figure out, yo creo que en español, al menos en México, si quieres traducirlo como de una forma más práctica, figure out es como resolver. Vas a tener que resolver cómo salir de esto, ¿sí? O arreglártelas. También en México se dice mucho eso. Pero sí,
Okay.
figure out también puede ser, pero siempre tiene esta connotación de resolver algo. O sea,
Okay, I thought was when you are thinking about a thing. I thought was a synonym about a work.
otra expresión que oí mucho en Texas hace ya unos años, por ejemplo, cuando le cuentas algo a alguien y te dicen, you figured that. Es como en México decir, imagínate eso, cuando es algo que no se esperaban, no se imaginaban.
You don't say imagine that.
Sorry?
You don't say imagine that. En vez de decir eso, you say figure out.
We figured. Way to figure that. Así no recuerdo bien cómo lo decían.
Okay.
Así lo veía con frecuencia.
Right.
Very good. We have 8 minutes. If not. Watching movies and Touchables. Exactamente, Ricardo. En esa película tienen un chorro de esas expresiones que muchas veces no están exageradas precisamente para darle como más énfasis. Pigs in the Hood. Ay, no. Bien. Sandra, has estado muy callada. ¿Qué pasa? Igual Noé. No han hablado tanto como otros días. Otro.
I think that you scared Noé last week when you told him he had to do a standout.
No.
I'm waiting for that. You still have to do that stand-up show. Another way of calling the police, and this is pretty, I think it's even comic, the FOSS. Have you heard of that one?
Fuss. No, I have here Fussy, but I don't know why it's Fuss.
It's different. Yeah, Fussy is different, but the FOSS, this is a very 1970s expression. And the origin is quite curious too. But one of the alleged origins of this word is the static that you get out of police radios. They are always communicating through radios, so the FOSS is that static. Another, I don't agree with this that much because this is more like an American expression, is the FOSS because of police officers or the Royal Guard in England. Those black fussy hats. That's something that someone says is the origin of this term. I don't know, but doing a research in these expressions is always interesting because I think that's a very unique part of the culture that you cannot find out unless you're living in there.
I think it's in the region, no? For example, the police or the sheriff. No?
Well, someone can explain what a sheriff is?
I don't know that I can explain it, but here in Cali, where I live, some cities will have a police department, and those are policemen. But then cities without a police department, they hire the sheriffs, which are more, I guess they have more jurisdiction over like the freeways or the highways and streets and cities. So I think they're a level higher than police officers, just because they can pull you over pretty much anywhere. When a policeman can only pull you over in his jurisdiction, whether it's the city of Santana, Los Angeles, San Diego, and some other cities, like I said, they actually have sheriffs. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is, but I think the sheriffs tend to have a higher power, I guess, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. And the idea is that a sheriff is responsible for a county, un condado. That's like the difference. Obviously, you can talk about sheriffs, marshals, and things like that. But this word is quite interesting because comes from this old English word, sheriff. Probably you are aware of the tale of Robin Hood, and one of his biggest enemies was the sheriff Nottingham. The sheriff was in charge of a county, the county of Nottingham, and he was in charge of collecting taxes. So and the word is sheriff. Obviously, it degraded to sheriff, and it's interesting because yes, Sergio.
Sorry, that word sheriff was using in the Old West. I have hear it with the cowboys and the sheriffs.
I
They are
think that's like the first impression for not American people, right? Well, living in the US, I mean, because you have this idea of the cowboys, like you said.
Yeah.
It's well, like Rafael said, there are still sheriffs in every city.
Now, actually, the sheriff in the cities are more rurals. What's the difference between a cop and a sheriff? Example.
Creo que para que esto quedara un poco más claro, igual puede ser no tan preciso. La traducción más precisa o más acercada de sheriff sería alguacil.
Alguacil, ok.
Ajá. Y eso, pues, obviamente es un término medieval que se va a usar hasta bien entrado el siglo XIX. Pero ahora ya, como dices, en localidades que son un poco más alejadas de las ciudades puede haber un sheriff. ¿Cuál sería el equivalente a un sheriff en una ciudad? ¿Perdón? Esta pregunta ya es más como de historia. Adriano, yes.
Hola, profesor, buenas noches. ¿Qué práctica o tarea nos deja para esta semana, para el martes?
No les he dejado nada. No hemos hecho algo que sea como para que lo hagan en su casa. Obviamente lo que siempre les recomiendo, lean noticias. Eso siempre da bastante tema de conversación. Híjole, ya es jueves y hoy teníamos un tema muy, muy jugoso para hablar, lo de las elecciones. Pero bueno.
That was crazy.
Indeed. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. I don't think that anything good is going to come out of the state of the entire continent, because America is in a very particular moment right now, in my opinion.
I read the news today in the morning. Much Latin people voted for Trump. The news say the people it's more stable. I don't know how much will say economicamente. With Trump, they imagine that a question on for the immigration. The people vote for Trump for that. The immigrant people, how say Trump, él dice así como que los inmigrantes son lo peor, ¿verdad? But that people voted for him is for the economic.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult topic. I don't know when we are going to start seeing the consequences, but we'll see. That's an interesting news. If you want to keep this topic for next class, we can. But watch news. That's something that I will always recommend you doing. Muy bien. Vamos a dejarlo hasta acá. Que tengan excelente fin de semana, cuídense mucho. Nos vemos el martes.
Buenas noches, profesor.
Hasta luego, gracias. Buenas noches.
Good night.
Thank you,
Good
teacher.
evening.
You, good night.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Buenas noches a todos. No se les olvide votar.